We're live. We did it. Holy shit, that was hard. Kevin, it's so nice to hear you.
Yes, and see you.
I know it.
See you.
I wore red lipstick today, and I'm regretting my choice.
Well, I had someone earlier.
You had red lipstick on earlier?
Only around the house.
I find that surprising. So a lot of my friends have been telling me that I need to practice my Scottish accent.
Okay.
And okay. And I do. The secret.
The secret is to master the letter R.
R.
Like a pirate. Like a pirate.
Like a pirate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to be a famous Scottish actress now because my accent's terrible. So Kevin, where I know you from the nonfiction writing group on the Facebook.
That's correct. Yes. I remember your first appearance there.
Oh. Yeah, that didn't go well, did it?
I thought it went okay.
That's because you're an optimist. You're far too nice. I literally almost threw myself off a building after that day. You're lucky I'm still here. So I have so much I want to talk to you about today.
Okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow you're going to climb a mountain.
Yes, we're going up Ben Nevis on Saturday. So we're going to drive up tomorrow and climb it on Saturday. So that's the highest mountain in Britain.
I know it's the highest mountain. Do you know why? Because I Googled it.
But it's quite small compared to some of your mountains, I think.
So is there snow on the mountain that you're climbing?
There will be. I was up in July a few years ago and there was snow at the top. So,
there
yeah,
was.
probably.
Do you need special equipment to climb this mountain?
A hip flask, some whiskey. That's about it.
I was going to ask you if you'd be drinking whiskey. You're going to climb a mountain drunk?
Well, it's better having it on the way down, I would say.
What? What did you say?
It's better having it on the way down.
Oh, it's better having it on the way down. See,
I'll slow down a little bit.
Slow down a little bit. Actually, I like the way you talk. I do. I think it's fantastical. I have to slow down when I speak as well because I'm a little over exuberant. But you know, so you're is this your first time climbing a mountain?
No, I've been up this mountain before.
What inspired you to climb it? Why?
I got told to.
You got told to?
Yes.
By God? God was flying around.
Family. So
they said, get off. Go ahead.
There's kids going up and everything. There's kids and dogs and all sorts.
Kids and dogs? They're going with you? Are your children going?
Yes, both of them.
Oh, and your children are named after Americans.
They are. I've got Amelia, named after Amelia Earhart, and Daniel, named after Dan Gurney, an American racing driver.
Because you love race cars.
I've got a slight penchant for
it. Have you ever driven a race car yourself?
Yeah, I used to race a little bit when I was younger. And I've driven a few different things. But motor racing, they say the only way to make a small fortune is to begin with a large fortune. So it's a very quick way to spend a lot of money, I would say.
Yeah. And to die, because people die doing that sort of thing, including one of your all-time favorite racers in the entire world. Who would that be?
Are you thinking of Jim Clark?
I am. And then there's another one.
There's there's a couple I wrote the books about. There was Jim Crawford, who isn't as well known as Jim Clark, and a Welsh driver called Tom Price. So
you've written about all three of those racers, correct?
I've not written about Jim Clark. The only reason being there are about 30 books about Jim Clark already.
But James Crawford.
Jim Crawford, yeah.
Jim. Is it James or is it Jim?
His actual name was James, but everybody called him Jim. So,
Okay, because when I Googled him, because I did
Yeah.
my research, when I Googled him, it came up as James. And so I kept wanting to call him James. And every time you call him Jim Crawford, I'm like, okay, I have the wrong person, but no, I don't. And so I want to know a little bit about this race car driver, actually a lot. What do you love about him?
So when I was a kid, one of the big thrills of the year was being allowed to watch the Indy 500 from America, which we got on TV over here. And I discovered that one of the drivers was from Scotland in a little town called Dunfermline, which was about 3 miles from where I lived. So that kind of captivated me, that this guy from my local town had somehow made it to the Indy 500. And then years and years passed. This was before the internet. And then much later on, I met a friend of Jim's, a photographer, a racing photographer. This was after Jim had passed away. And he basically talked me into writing a book. He was from Kansas City, the photographer. So, but Jim was I think there's a fine line between courage and stupidity in racing, and he was right on it.
I wonder if he was drinking the whiskey when he was driving.
He was a very keen drinker. Yeah, a very keen drinker.
So drinking is big in Scotland. Am I right about that?
I'd say it's a common hobby. Yeah,
it's a common hobby. I think there's a lot of Americans that drink as well. So I've done my fair share of drinking, and every time I drink, I get really, really fat. So I'm trying not to drink, but I'm not good at it. I drank yesterday. I drank vodka, and it made me have a headache.
Oh, but that's okay. I mean,
headache?
My thing is, if I drink, I tend to buy stupid things from eBay. So
what do you like to buy off of eBay?
Just things that some things you don't remember until they turn up in the post. The biggest thing I bought after a drink was a bus. I bought a bus years ago.
How big
not
was
on
the
eBay.
bus?
It was a minibus. It had 17 seats on it, like a school bus kind of thing.
Oh, like an actual vehicle?
Oh yeah, like an actual bus.
Not like a toy bus, like a real live bus.
So we used to use it to go to football games. Some people for the local pub.
No, yeah, I'm just excited. I'm just excited.
Yeah, that was probably the worst purchase, the bus.
I didn't even realize you could buy vehicles on eBay.
That wasn't on eBay. That was a deal that was done in a pub.
So you bought a bus in a pub because you were drinking.
Yeah.
Did you regret your choice? Did you get a good deal on the bus?
The deal was okay. It didn't go down so well with my other half when she found out.
Did she divorce you?
No, but she wasn't too happy about it. Especially when I explained that I had to pay to go on the bus.
You had to pay to go on the bus. Now tell me about that. How does that even happen? So
we were using the bus to go to football games to support the football team. Soccer team. Soccer. And we agreed that we'd pay, I think it was £10 each trip, and that would pay for the maintenance to the bus when it needed.
All the people that rode it?
Yeah. So I just said I'll pay as well, but some people thought that was a bit daft that I had to pay to get on my bus.
It is a bit daft, especially since you are a self-employed musician.
But that was a long time ago.
How old were you then?
About 25.
25. Alex Mayberry just commented. Alex is from England. I don't know if you remember Alex, but he says
he's a racing fan.
Have you done any talking to Alex?
I think we've exchanged comments.
He's a great guy. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful for social media and the people that I get the pleasure of talking to and meeting and befriending. It just makes me so happy because I can't afford to travel very often, if ever. And so like this might be the closest I ever get to Scotland is Facebook Live. Do you think that buying a bus is the grounds for divorce?
No,
No.
no. Maybe if you ran her over with it.
What do you think a good reason for divorce is?
Losing the children, maybe.
What about adultery? Do you think you should get divorced if somebody's cheating on somebody?
Maybe, yeah. It's the thing is, every situation's has got its own little nuances, so you're never quite sure what the details of it are.
Were you
But
married?
probably.
Were you married before?
I'm not married.
But were you?
No,
Did you marry your children's mother?
Sorry?
Did you marry your children's mother?
No, we never married. But we're still together.
You're still together?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
How long have you been together?
20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
Does she want to marry you?
Yeah, she says she would. I think she's quite keen to get married, and I said if you just arrange it, I'll definitely turn up. So,
I want to be your wedding photographer.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Don't you think? So now you have a reason. You should go buy a ring today. Okay, so here I have an idea. It's a brilliant idea. Okay. What is her name?
Tracy.
Tracy. Okay. So you're going to climb a mountain on Saturday, right?
Yep.
And is Tracy going to be with you?
Yes.
So brilliant. Okay. So just go buy a ring today and then climb the mountain. And when you get to the top, then you get on a knee and you say, "My darling love, I want to marry you." And then you call me up and book me as your photographer and I'll buy it. I would even get vaccinated to be your wedding photographer.
I can't see any flaw in that plan.
See? It's brilliant. Aren't you glad you talked to me today?
But we'll have 6 children and dogs with us, so we'll all have fallen out by the time we get to the dog.
I love it. I love it. So where did you meet Tracy?
We were at high school together, but we didn't speak to each other at all at high school.
You didn't?
Never. So it was after high school we met through friends, I think. It's a bit vague.
It's because of the whiskey. That's what happens when you drink whiskey, right?
Yeah, we were having fun back then. There was a lot of drinking.
So are you still making your living as a professional musician?
Yes. So I mainly work in schools these days, with primary schools. My friend and myself have got a business, like a music education business. So I still do gigs, but I prefer working in the schools, to be honest. I'm getting a bit older now.
How old are you?
40.
Oh, I'm older than you.
Oh, I don't think most people would think that.
Oh, but it's true. I'm 44.
44.
44. I'm
You
I'm
sound
gonna
like
be
you're
45.
You sound like you're in Oliver Twist.
I'm practicing my English Scottish accents because American is boring.
Well, you've taken our language and made your own version of it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's my own Amber dialect.
Yeah, I live in the middle of Scotland, basically in the middle. But if you go up north, even I struggle to understand them up north. They have a different language.
When I went to Ireland, there was definitely people that we came across that had such a thick accent, it didn't even sound like they were speaking English. And so I would just nod and blink because I had no idea what they were saying. So Ireland is the only country that I've been to other than America. I mean, I've been into Canada barely, just across to one little border town, in Mexico just barely in a border town, but never really explored outside of America, mostly for financial reasons.
The Irish are nice.
Huh?
The Irish are nice. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I had a delightful time in Ireland. It was absolutely one of the best experiences of my entire life. I absolutely loved it. My family background, so my heritage is Irish and German, and then my boyfriend's family, part of his family comes from Scotland. So it's been neat. We definitely are planning and hoping to visit Scotland somewhere in the near future if travel restrictions, etc. If the world ever gets back to normal.
Yeah, it's getting a bit boring now.
Yeah.
COVID.
Did you go out and get your COVID vaccine?
Yeah, I got one a few weeks ago.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're not dead.
I was fine. I had a bit of a sore arm. That was it.
Did you get the one shot and you're done?
No, I have to get another one in a couple of weeks.
So it's still looking, you might not make it through that second shot.
Who
I'm
knows?
just kidding. I promise. Just making terrible jokes. This is why I'm not a comedian.
I think I've had worse things than COVID vaccines in me over the years.
My daughter got COVID.
Oh, did she? Is she
She
okay?
did. Oh, she was totally fine. She barely had any symptoms at all. I think the only reason she even knew she had COVID is that her boyfriend got it first and he got it from his work. And so they made her get tested because they lived together and her test came back positive. So, but other than that, she said she was a little bit tired and that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. It's an interesting virus, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. I've avoided it so far, but who knows?
Alex made another comment. He said, "Do you sing the Wheels on the Bus to the school kids?"
We don't, Alex, for copyright reasons.
So do you perform your own original music when you go to the schools?
We write our own music. It's a lot easier, to be honest.
And you play the drums?
That's my main instrument, is drums. Yeah.
What is your other instruments that you play?
I play guitar, not to any great standard, and that's about it. I wish I'd learned the piano as a child. I wish I'd learned the piano. But there you go.
I love music. That was actually what I wanted to do. That was my true passion, was that I was going to grow up and become a famous singer.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit awkward on stage and I have confidence issues.
Well,
so I didn't go after it.
Drums could be the perfect instrument because you just hide at the back.
But I like to sing.
You get
That's
singing
my
drummers.
favorite thing.
Singing
Really?
drummers. Yeah. Don Henley from the Eagles.
Ah.
Karen Carpenter.
See, look at this. All of this information that I didn't know until today. You know a lot of things. That's one of my favorite things about you.
None of them useful.
Yes, for sure. I want to talk about Scotland and the fact that Scotland, one of your biggest, I don't know what we call a product, would be coal, right?
Yes, yeah.
And coal gave a lot of people jobs, and now coal is considered dirty energy.
Yep.
So how has that affected the finances of your country?
Well, the region I stay in, which is called Fife, it used to be the biggest coal producing region in all of Europe. So the village I live in used to have 4 coal mines. That was in a village. It was quite small. The town next to it had 7 coal mines, and that probably provided 90% of the employment was the coal mines. Without getting too political, things happened maybe from London in the 70s and 80s that eventually saw an end to the whole industry. Really, I don't think there's any coal mines in Britain now. I may be wrong, but there may be one left. So when these places shut down, you were left with these little communities that were almost destitute, and people were really on their knees. So it's taken a long time to recover some of these communities, and you can still see the scars of that when you visit these places, these little villages that used to be coal towns.
How did the people adapt and revise? What industry do they, if all the jobs go away, right?
Yeah.
What kind of jobs did they create to make up for the deficit?
Well, there was massive unemployment at the time, and for a long time actually. And then the government's idea at the time was that we should be putting all our efforts into kind of blue collar job and technology, computer jobs, things like that. But there's still considerable unemployment in these areas. You're maybe aware that Britain's got a certain benefits system, so it can look after unemployed people. But it's I don't think the country's ever recovered really from the coal mine shutting.
Do you think it will?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's almost created a cycle of almost poverty and inequality. So it's a question of how do you break the cycle? You know. I mean, I'm not a terribly political person, so I don't want to get into.
I know, and I'm asking loaded questions because it's really truly tricky to have conversations about why the world, especially finance, finance, why the world works the way that it works, etc. And I am morbidly curious about these topics, and it's unfortunately very rare that I have the opportunity to sit in front of people that are intelligent and and intelligent people. Everybody I know is dumb. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I mean that people that are willing to have conversations about things, because talking about politics is so frowned upon. I don't know anything about the UK, really. I don't. Yeah. I know that from the little bit that you and I have emailed back and forth and getting to know other people from around the world, it's interesting to me how American politics and European politics, the problems and the gripes are very similar. They almost run parallel to each other.
Yeah. I mean, the area, Scotland, most of Scotland used to be a very socialist country. And when the mines were open, for example, in this region, the big socialist party, Labour, they would get basically 100% of the votes in the election. That's all changed now. There's other parties are getting votes around here, but some of the other parties that are getting votes, our ancestors could never have imagined that people here would vote for those parties.
So what are the parties there? So that you have socialism, you have.
So the party that's in power in Westminster is the Conservative Party.
Are those the Tories?
Yes. Now the miners blamed the Tories for ending the industry, in particular a Prime Minister called Margaret Thatcher. Sorry, my cat's got its claw caught here. I'm just trying to free it. And therefore, I mean, we had a Tory councillor voted in here a couple of years ago. So particularly the older generation who remember the miners and the strikes they had against the Tories, the fact that they now have a Tory councillor does not sit well with them, to put it mildly. So I'd say there's a lot of friction in the UK just now. There's a lot of friction in Scotland because we've got the Scottish National Party who want independence for Scotland. You've got the Tories down south, and then you've got the Labour Party who are a bit of a mess just now anyway. So there's a lot of friction going on, a lot of opinions. It's quite easy to get into an argument in a pub. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, so America is in the same is in the same boat. I mean, truly, my dad is one of those people that he feeds on politics and research, and it's really, really important to him. And he's always telling me, you need to pay attention to what's happening in this country. You need to give a shit. And he's like, he yells and screams at me, and I'm like, Dad, what am I going to do with this information? How will knowing this help me in any way? But it's interesting that you said Scotland used to be primarily socialist. Do you think socialism was working for Scotland? Do you think it was beneficial?
I mean, I can only really comment on the mining areas that I was familiar with. I think it certainly worked in the mining areas. There was actually a village next to where I lived that years ago, it was probably the blueprint for a socialist system. I've actually written a book about it a while ago.
What's
And
the book called?
It's called Coal and Community. It's I maybe sent you a copy. I can't remember if I sent you a copy.
Did you send it via email?
Maybe. I can't remember.
Because you didn't mail me any hard books. You just said, I
Did I
think
not?
you.
I apologize.
Oh no, I'm supposed to mail my book to Pakistan, and I still haven't. And I said I would mail it 4 months ago. So it happens. It's expensive to ship things internationally.
It's really expensive to ship things now, aye. Especially since we're out of Europe.
So if you said you have a Scottish party that is wanting independence for Scotland, what would that mean?
Well, that's the big question and the big unknown. It's, I mean, we had a referendum 7 years ago, I think, and the vote was no against it, 55% to 45%. So they're now pushing for another referendum.
That's close. That's really close. 45% to 50%. There was a 5% difference.
Sorry, it's 55 to 45.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's close. Very close.
So they're now pushing for another referendum. But that's a very hot topic in Scotland.
I love hot topics.
Yeah.
I do. The ones that make people angry so that they're yelling and cussing and they want to kill each other. I love them. I love them so much. I don't have a lot of those conversations, but I do love them.
Yeah, so it's
So my dad thinks that socialism and communism go together. Do you think that that is true?
well, it's interesting because there's another little village near here, and they used to have the only communist member of parliament in the whole of Britain, and that was a coal mining village. And they actually have an area of the village called Red Square, and they have a street called Gagarin Way after Yuri Gagarin, the cosmonaut.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know nothing about that person. Nothing at all.
He was very popular with the communists.
But that communist party is no more because the coal industry went under?
Yeah, I mean that was a blip on the political map of a communist MP. He was the only one in the whole of Britain in this little village in Scotland.
How long did that political party even last?
I think they might still be about actually, but very, very small. I mean, they were about for decades, especially when the mines were open. I don't know off the top of my head.
Have you done any research into the New World Order at all?
Well, I've heard little bits, but no, I haven't, to be honest.
I'm in the same boat. I have people that literally will message me and say, you need to look into this. And again, I'm like, okay, so let's just imagine that there's this global conspiracy to change and alter the world. And all of these big people have been planning and plotting for years. What can I do with that information, right? So sometimes I feel like the less that you know, the better. But then I can't really walk around my life with blinders on, can I, forever? Or can I?
Yeah, I think politics is all smoke and mirrors anyway. So it's almost a job where you have to lie to keep your job for any length of time.
I agree with you. And then you have all of us regular folk that are bitching about how corrupt and how unfair it is. And everybody is noticing. And this is the thing that's interesting about social media and how it's opened up the opportunity for people to actually start talking to each other and putting the pieces together. And the more that you know, the more that you start to connect the dots, the more that you're like, holy shit, what is actually happening?
And people from different countries, because we were all really interested in the US election race. in Scotland. We were all following that quite closely.
Which one? The recent one between Biden and Trump, or the one
All of
before?
them, all the recent ones. Yeah, we've followed them all.
So what are your thoughts on that? Don't you love my loaded questions?
I think Trump's mainly seen here as a comical figure, to be honest. And obviously, we don't live in America, so we don't actually experience what effect it has on you.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, you know. But yeah, it was. I've met Trump supporters and non-Trump supporters in Scotland. I think there was a bit of bad blood here when he came across and caused a bit of a ruckus with his golf course development. Shall we say?
Wait, say that there was a ruckus about a golf course development?
Yeah, but he built a golf course near Aberdeen in the north of Scotland, and there was a. Sorry,
Trump did that.
Trump did, yeah.
And people didn't like it.
He maybe used some heavy-handed tactics to get land off the local property owners.
Oh.
I think didn't go down too well with the locals.
I have never, in the history of my life, there's never been a president or a candidate, with the exception of Obama. I really liked Obama until I found out about the things that Obama did later on. But, I thought he was such a graceful, eloquent speaker. I just loved the poise. I loved him and his wife and, the way they carry themselves.
Yeah.
When Trump was running for office the first time against Hillary, it was the first time in my adult life that I did not vote. I was like, this is an absolute joke. I am not participating in this. The next election, I did vote, and I'm not a Trumpster at all, not even a little bit. But I did vote for Trump in the last election, and I voted for Trump because, hold on, I hit a button. I don't know what's happening. Hold on. I hit a button and it made music play in my ear. I have earbuds in. And I voted for him specifically because I felt like people were working so hard to completely silence him that it made me wonder why.
Yeah.
I really feel like so since we've been talking about really, really big sorts of things that will literally, because, if you say you voted for Trump in America, they'll hang you. You might find my body floating in a river later. They really I live in one of the most liberal states in the country. Washington State is very, very bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah.
Very much so. So if I'm dead later, I'm not going to put a wax tattoo on myself. What did you think about John McAfee's death? Do you think it was a suicide?
I've not actually read much about it, to be honest. I saw the headline, but I've not actually read up on it. So I better not comment because I don't know. If I'm being honest.
See, you need to get online and start going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole.
I know, if it wasn't for children.
Are your children still awake?
They've just come back from a walk, I think. They're just back from a walk. Yeah.
Did they know you were doing a podcast this evening?
I'm sure their mum will have told them. Yeah.
What does your wife think about you doing a podcast tonight?
Oh, she's used to me doing.
I called her your wife because you've been together for 20 years. You're married.
She's used to me doing strange things because I often do interviews for books like this.
Yeah.
So she's quite used to me disappearing into the room to do this.
So Alex made another comment. I think he was trying to give us an out of our political conversation. He's like, hot topic, IndyCar or NASCAR, which is better?
IndyCar.
Why?
I think it's a bit of I have tried watching NASCAR, and I always got the impression it was more about the show. putting on a show rather than about the actual essence of racing. Whereas IndyCar, I was brought up. I love the history of IndyCar racing. I've got books and books on it, and I could bore you to tears. And because, especially the Indy 500, because living in Scotland, it was such an exotic thing. This big race in Indianapolis. So I'd love to go one day. I'd love to go and see it one day. Yeah.
Where is that at? What state is that in? Does it
Indiana.
move around?
Indiana.
See, that's why I call it IndyCar, right?
No, sorry, the big race is in Indiana, but the rest of the races are in different states.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
I don't follow racing. I don't.
Okay.
I mean, can I tell you that this is how much I care about cars? I drive a Prius.
That's okay.
It's not okay. It's not okay for a lot of people.
My knowledge of road cars isn't very good.
Me either. No. I haven't. So I haven't really been one of those people that follows sports or race cars, but politics. Yeah. I like to follow politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes sport and politics mix. So.
Mm-hmm. So football's happening.
Yes. Yep. I've been watching a lot of football.
You've been watching a lot of. See, I'm trying to do Scottish, and I sound like I'm English.
Well, we call it football.
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 Fit, like FET, football.
FIT.
Football.
Football.
Football. Football. Okay, so look. Somebody told me earlier. Hold on a second. I'm looking on my Facebook in a messenger. Alf Smith. He said the English are called Sassenach by the Scots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say that word.
Sassenach.
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 What's that mean?
Sassenach. It's an old. I am searching my brain here to remember this. It's a very old word, centuries old. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
That's okay.
You can Google that. But it's quite a hard word to say because it's got the sound at the end. Sassenach.
Sassenach.
The word that most foreigners struggle to say is loch.
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 Loch, like Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, loch.
And you have two lochs. Lochs. You have two of those near you.
I've got a little one down the road, and I've got a big one up the road.
A little one down the road and a big one up the road.
But there's hundreds of lochs in Scotland, thousands.
What is a loch? What is one?
It's a lake.
Oh, it's just a lake.
It's a Scottish word for lake.
Oh, well, shoot. saying lake is so much easier. So, have you watched the movie Braveheart?
Yes, many years ago. Yeah.
Do you love that movie?
It's quite entertaining. I quite enjoyed it.
It is a favorite of like almost every man that I talk to here in America. If you ask them what their favorite movie is, and I'm probably being a little bit exaggerating, but Braveheart is a favorite.
Yeah, it's good entertainment value. I'm probably more a comedy person, to be honest, but yeah, it's quite entertaining.
You like Billy Connolly?
I like Billy Connolly. Yeah.
Is he your favorite? Is he your favorite comedian?
Favorite comedian? I've got a lot of favorite comedians. I like Spike Milligan, who's a very odd English comedian. A lot of old comedians. There's a Scottish comedian called Chick Murray, who died a long time ago, but he was Billy Connolly's great hero. So a few of Billy Connolly's jokes actually were Chick Murray jokes. So yeah, there's a lot of good comedians about. Yeah, there's American comedians. I like a lot of American music.
Tell me some American music that you like.
I like, off the top of my head, my
I know when I try to do Scottish, I sound like I'm from India. I'm like, okay, now, would you like to buy a Slurpee? Oh, don't do that. That. I was going to say, do you want to buy a Slurpee? But I can't say that because then people get mad at me because everybody is super sensitive these days. You can't make jokes. No jokes.
Frightening world. I like. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Tom Waits. I like Tom Waits. I like.
I don't know who that is. What era did he play music in?
Tom Waits is still around. I think he's retired now. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
should I Google this right now?
Yeah. If you ever saw in Batman with who was the actor that died that played the Joker? Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, yes.
He copied Tom Waits' voice for the Joker.
Okay, so I'm going to look up Tom Waits right now. Tom. It's amazing how little I know. Like, have I been living under a rock? Do you know what I mean? Like, when I talk to people, they know so much. Like, where have I been? It's so weird. Anyway, Tom, how do I spell his name?
W-A.
Oh, found him.
He's a funny guy. You should watch his interviews on Letterman.
On Letterman. I never watched Letterman. Letterman was on too late for me. I got to go to bed at a reasonable hour. So he had albums: Closing Time, Rain Dogs, Blue Valentine, The Heart of Saturday Night.
Yeah. He's been around
and he's
for a
not
long
alive
time.
anymore.
He's
not alive. He is alive. He's still alive.
He's definitely alive.
Okay, good. This is good. Tom is going to be like, who is this Amber lady? She doesn't even know who I am. No, Thomas doesn't even know I exist because I'm just an ordinary person.
He's a funny guy. He's worth watching. So I like Tom Waits. I like loads of music. So.
I love music. Love it. My favorite person is, I'm going to say her name wrong probably, but Bonnie Raitt or Raitt.
Oh yeah.
My mom used to listen to Bonnie. She would get drunk and she would play her music like full blast. And so I could either get mad at my mom for playing music loud on a school night, or I could get up and sing. So I would just get up and sing, and that's what we would do. So Bonnie Raitt is definitely somebody that speaks to me. She speaks my love language. I like the blues a lot too.
I think you associate music with things that have happened in your life, something.
Yeah.
You know.
When I was going through my divorce, I like to listen to like, I would call it head banging, like head smashing music. I like to listen to like Rage Against the Machine and like help to get me through it. And I love gangster rap. I love rap.
Right.
I love rap. Right. Yes. NWA, Tupac, Biggie Smalls. Like I really like, I do. What is your all-time favorite American band? Do you have one?
Oh my, let me think. I would say either the band.
Oh, okay.
They're called the band.
The band. Okay, I was like, all right.
Or maybe Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah, see, that's a band I know.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah. You finally said something that I recognize. So Alex said another hot topic. He said, hot topic, playing music or writing books.
I would say I'm probably erring more towards writing books these days as I get older.
How are your books doing? Are you making a good profit from them?
Well, the last book I wrote was for it was a fundraising thing for a memorial. So
yeah,
it was a not-for-profit book. But
that was a race car driver.
Yeah, Tom Price. Yeah,
Tom Price and his widow. Yeah. She signed autographs those books, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, she's a lovely lady. Yeah.
Don't you love how I pay attention, Kevin?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she wrote the foreword and a chapter, so that was really good. Yeah.
What did she think of the book?
Oh, she loved the book. Yeah,
She
yeah,
did.
because the book's basically about 70 interviews with people who knew Tom. So it's his closest friends, his school friends, his racing friends, his rivals, everybody you can think of, really. Um, so it was nice because she hadn't heard from some of these people for years, but she was able to read their memories, obviously. So, yeah.
So it's a tribute book.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, Tom died in 1977, so a long
I
time
was
ago.
born in 77.
Oh, there you go.
I was. Did he die in a racing accident?
He did. He died in South Africa in a Formula One race. And unfortunately, a young fire marshal ran in front of his car. So it was
Why?
he was actually going to put out a fire in his teammate's car that had stopped on the other side of the track. And
Ah,
it was a completely freak accident, and both of them lost their lives, unfortunately.
that's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's the thing that's so interesting to me about human beings is that the things that we do to endanger our lives for sport and fun.
yeah, yeah,
For like life itself is not difficult enough. I'm going to get into this car and I'm going to try to go as fast as I possibly can without dying. That's how I'm going to spend. That's what I'm going to do for fun. I typically try to avoid things that kill me.
it's a lot safer now.
Typically,
It's a lot
yeah.
safer now. This, a lot safer.
There was just a racer that died this week, actually, a boat racer that died. I was in the headlines a couple of days ago, and he died. He was ejected. The boat was going 90 miles per hour, and he was ejected, and he died. I read the headline, but didn't read the article. So
Right, right.
I think there's risks involved, period. And there was also somebody in my state that died. He was trying to get the world record for jumping over the most trucks, like in his car and in a motorcycle, I think. And he died. And he was a young fella. I think he was like 26 years old.
Well, I think it's living on the edge like that. Maybe you feel more alive than just bumbling through life.
Bumbling through life. Sometimes I feel like I'm just bumbling through life. I've been in a little bit of a funk lately.
I think we all do sometimes, especially with this COVID nonsense. You know, I mean,
Yeah, the COVID thing is a little bit maddening.
yeah, it is. It's just. I think there's been days when you think, what's the point? Because it's just every day is the same.
It's Groundhog's Day, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I'll go for another walk.
I completely relate to that. Or even if you get into this rut where you're just like working all the time,
Yeah.
and there's not really anything to break up the monotony.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to be like, okay, well, I'm bored, so I will just eat something or drink something. You know what I mean? Like trying to self-medicate instead of go out there and do what I really want to do, which is to have adventure. I want to adventure, Kevin.
I think you'll get the chance.
I hope so. I really want to spend my life like I would love to spend my life traveling and talking to people and like actually having real life interactions instead of just sitting in my little box by myself.
Yeah. Hopefully the world will open up soon.
I need to make money too if I'm going to be. So that's kind of where I'm at lately. I was like, so I have been self-employed and an entrepreneur for most of my adult life. And so lately I've been like, well, maybe I should go get a traditional job Monday through Friday, like that 9 to 5 job, and then run my photography business on the weekends and then build the book business on my off time so that I have consistent income, because as an entrepreneur, sometimes you make a lot of money and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But everybody that knows me tells me I would be miserable that way.
I think I used to work for a bank when I was younger, believe it or not. And but I think I've been self-employed for 16 years, 17 years. And I think when you get used to not having a 9 to 5 job, the thought of going back to one, it kind of spurs you on to be successful, so you don't have to go and do that. You know what I mean?
That's where I'm at. I mean, so the only reason I would go get that 9 to 5 job is legitimately just fear of I'm getting older, you know, like if I currently live with my boyfriend and he loves me very much, but he gets mad at me and then breaks up with me. And then I'm like, okay, I don't make enough money right now to be on my own.
Yeah.
The cost of living here is ridiculous. I mean, it's really like you can't find a place to live for less than $2,000 a month for rent. You really can't, unless you're going to live in the ghetto. And then it's like not much less. It would be like $1,500 puts you in the ghetto. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's really tricky. So I'm like, I'm torn between being true to who I am and following my own path to feeling the pressure and the fear of like, what do I do if things go bad? You know, like, because I don't want to end up in a tent.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah. It's, you seem to be doing okay just now. You're writing. You're
Oh yeah,
photography.
I'm doing good, and that's the thing too. Is like I have all of these thoughts and all of these fears. Not all of them are rational. Like for example, like my boyfriend tells me all the time, I do love you and I do want you in my world. You know, so he just is one of those people that when he gets upset, he likes to push away, which I think is a normal human response. And you know, we're 2 years into our relationship, and you know, still trying to navigate it and figure it out. And it's not always easy. And I do the same thing. I push him away as well. And there's that part of me that just fiercely wants to be independent and not need to count on anybody.
Yeah. I think everybody wants that really. But you know, the photography that might, you know, with everything opening up after COVID, hopefully that'll take off a lot more as well.
Yeah. So we're getting a whole lot of comments. I'm gonna click on some of them. When we were talking about music, he wrote Eminem. He really likes Eminem. And then he said, I really like Kevin's accent, the R.
Thank you.
And he said, the thrill has its own rules. He said something sad, very sad. I don't know what the sadness is, but I'm sure it was sad. And then Alex says, what was your favorite school dessert? Mine was rhubarb, crumble, and custard.
You used to get a little square sponge cake, and I used to have icing on the top, and they'd cover it in custard, I'm sure. I only ever saw it in a school. You would never be served this in a restaurant.
What did it taste like?
I used to think it tasted great, but it probably actually tasted shite.
You know what I noticed is that you said shite, so you say shite instead of shit.
Yes, that's a Scottish thing.
And I see that sometimes instead of saying fucking, people say fecking with
Well,
an E.
That's an Irish thing.
It's an Irish thing. Okay. Yeah. But in Scotland, you just say fuck. You say it with a U.
Yeah, it's quite aggressive the way the Scots say it.
Do you swear a lot in Scotland?
I can regulate my swearing depending on the company I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
So there's some people you'd swear a lot with, because I think it's a very natural thing in the Scottish language to fit in swear words, or even fit in swear words in the middle of normal words.
I love to swear, and the F word is my favorite word. I love to say fuck. I just love it. There's actually YouTube videos that like have funny little fuck songs. I just love it. But I'm really careful about my audience as well. Like when I was interviewing Alex, who was my first podcast, he commented like after I had done a couple other podcasts, and I was interviewing Brienne about her weight loss, and I swore a lot in that podcast. And he said, what is up with the swearing? He was like, you didn't swear hardly at all. You said maybe one swear word during our interview. And I said, well, I've known Brienne for years. You know what I mean? And, you know, and then he was like, well, are you going to swear when you interview my dad? Because I interviewed his dad. And I said, well, no. And he's, well, why not? And I said, well, it's a respect thing, you know, and it's not that I you know, like if I don't know somebody and I don't know how they'll handle it, then I can definitely be elegant and ladylike. You know, it's not exactly classy to swear all the time, but it
I
sure
try
is
not.
fun
I try not to swear in schools when I'm.
when you're with the kids. Yes, I definitely am good about not swearing in front of children, unless it's my
Yeah,
own child.
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
My
it's a
Stephen Gave said it's 4:20 here. Do you know what that means?
it's 4:20 where he is. He's in America, I reckon.
I don't know why you said it's 4:20 because it's only 1:24. But
Oh, he's not in
420
America then. He's somewhere else.
no, he is no, he's in America. He lives in Oregon. That's actually my brother.
It's
And
9:20 here.
420 is a marijuana reference. Do you
Oh
smoke marijuana? I know you don't smoke marijuana personally. Is uh, is marijuana legal in Scotland? I think you said no.
no, no.
Do
Quite
very many
common.
Scottish people smoke pot?
Ah, there's a fair amount. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's the attitude towards marijuana these days over there?
Everybody's quite liberal towards it, apart from the government, I think, and the
What
police.
do you think what do you think that the government's objection to it is?
They can't make money off it, I'd guess.
But that's not true because they can, because America is proof of that. We're bringing in billions. I mean, sure of it. I haven't
Yeah,
researched it like thoroughly, but I mean, America's making a killing off the marijuana. You realize that we have more pot shops than Starbucks here in Washington.
really.
It's crazy.
That's an interesting fact.
It is an interesting fact. It's not really a fact though, because I just made it up.
Ah, well,
I mean, you can fact check it, but I mean, basically, there is a lot of pot shops. There's also a
yeah,
lot of Starbucks. Do you have Starbucks over there?
yeah, yeah. We do. There's one near me.
Do you like it?
It's not my favourite coffee. No,
No,
no. It's very expensive as well.
it is expensive.
Really expensive, and I can't even pronounce some of the coffees they have on offer. I mean, it's,
Are you are you a personal finance guy?
am I?
Finances. Is financial planning important to you, Kevin?
Um, to a degree, but I don't spend much time thinking about it. If I'm honest.
I spend a lot of time thinking about personal finance, specifically because I have my book, How to Make $10 Million with a Rubber
Yes.
Chicken. And so for me, I took that really serious of, okay, well, how do you become successful financially and how do you become successful with your own personal finance? So like that's kind of what I geek out about is how, and the reason why I brought up, are you a personal finance guy? Because one of the things that financial gurus say is, don't spend your money at Starbucks. Don't be that person that goes and gets a coffee every day because it adds up. It really
Yeah,
does add up.
I can make a better coffee than Starbucks. So,
I have been drinking tea lately,
oh, have you?
but I have this one particular tea though. I only like this one tea. It's from a company out of Seattle, Washington. It's called Market Spice, and it's an orange spice tea that's naturally sweetened. And I love it. It only has one terrible side effect, and that is that it stains my teeth.
Oh,
So now
interesting.
I have yellow teeth.
I can't see that. That looks fine on the computer.
Yeah, well, if you saw me in person, you'd be like, "Whoa, Amber, you need to go get your teeth whitened."
Yeah.
Alex said, "Did a teacher or someone else inspire you to write? And what was your favorite school dessert?" Oh, we already did that one, didn't we? We
We've
did
done the
that
dessert
one.
part. Yeah, we've done the dessert
Yeah,
part.
but we didn't answer the first one. Did a teacher inspire you?
I don't think so. I think I was more inspired at music by a teacher than writing. I had a very good music teacher at high school. I was quite fortunate. They gave me a lot of opportunities to, you know,
They took music out of the curriculum in America. Did you know
it's
that?
I didn't, but I'm not. It's it's suffering here as well.
Yeah, the arts
Um,
are going away.
yeah, I used to be a visiting music teacher that went down different high schools. There's a big word for it. It's peripatetic.
Oh my goodness gracious. Say that
Are
again.
you, peripatetic.
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 I'm never going to get that word right, Kevin.
So
But you're going to have to message it to me later so I can look it up and find out what it means. What's it mean?
It basically means you move around. So I used to say I was a peripatetic percussionist.
It's awesome. This person, Kuramkhan says, lol, and then Alex said 78% of facts are made up on the spot, including the statistics 78%. That's my little addendum.
12% aren't.
Did you know that they just let Bill
22%,
Cosby out of prison?
I also saw that, and I haven't read the article yet.
Oh.
I was surprised.
You were surprised? I was surprised too, but now I'm not surprised. I'm really kind of disgusted by the whole thing. They're saying that they let him out of prison because there was an error, like he was denied due process somehow, that one of the prosecutors. Yeah, it was a technicality. So now he he's going to be back on the streets, and so that is a topic that got me all bothered. I'm so glad I don't watch the news on a regular basis. I would be a really angry person.
I don't watch the news at all, to be honest.
Are your parents still alive?
Yes, they live about 4 miles away.
They live 4 miles away. Yeah. How old are they?
My dad is, to look it out, 75, and my mum's 74.
75. And are they doing well?
Yeah, my dad's had a few issues in the last couple of years, but he's okay now. My mum has MS, but she still gets around. So they're doing
That's
okay.
Wonderful.
They still take the grandkids and stuff.
Yeah. My dad is, he's in stage 4 kidney failure. So he has to get dialysis 3 days a week. And
sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's just miserable. It's miserable.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that he's willing to go through that, but I feel really bad for him because it's not fun on any level.
Does he live close, or is he further away?
My dad just recently moved away to Michigan. It's been about 2 years ago. Michigan is where he grew up. Right. And so he moved back there, and he's happy as a clam. He's got a little plot of land, and he's so proud of himself, and he likes to go fishing. And he had this little bird, I think it was a grouse, he's down the 2-track is what my dad calls it, the 2-track, which is basically like a dirt road, you know what I mean? Like, and so this little bird would come out to meet him every day, and my dad was so excited about this little bird. And because the bird would recognize my dad's car and would run alongside of him, he literally would come out to see my dad. My dad would bring him food. And then one day the bird just wasn't there anymore, and he never saw him again. But so I get to hear lots of stories. I went to go visit my dad in Michigan. Michigan is beautiful.
I've never, Lake Michigan, I've heard of Lake Michigan.
Michigan is called the land of lakes, I do believe, because it's got so many lakes. It's got lots and lots and lots of lakes.
The land of lochs.
The land of lochs. Lochs. So what is Scotland? What do you think what does Scotland think of America? If you were to generalize.
I think we like America in general. And we're slightly bemused by some things. No, I'd say we like. I mean, I know that a lot of Americans have Scottish connections, and there's a lot of places in America that are named after places in Scotland.
Such as?
There's an Aberdeen in America.
We have an Aberdeen, Washington. Did you know that?
There you go. I didn't know. There's a Dunfermline. There's a Dunfermline, which is one of the nearest towns to me. Dunfermline has a Carnegie Hall in it, just like New York.
It has a what hole in it?
Carnegie Hall.
What is that?
The big famous theatre in New York.
Oh, see how little I know? I have never been to New York.
A guy from Dunfermline in the 19th century moved to Pittsburgh and made a fortune in the steel industry, called Andrew Carnegie. and then he built all these various buildings for local people, both in America and in Scotland.
That's fascinating.
And Pittsburgh's named after a Scotsman as well.
Pittsburgh is as well. Who is the Scotsman? What was his name?
Just trying to remember. Somebody Pitt, and I can't remember his first name. Is it Andrew?
That's all right. You remember more than I do. I think I might have killed some brain cells somewhere along the way. My memory is terrible. It's probably the pot smoking, because pot smoke is supposed to mess with your short-term memory. And if you smoke pot all the time, then it will eventually mess with your long-term memory. So basically, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've forgotten.
Your name's at the bottom.
Oh, there I am. My name's Amber. Oh, goodness gracious. Holy hell. So Karam says, hey, you guys have completely forgotten to discuss what Mr. Donald Trump is doing nowadays. I don't know what he's doing. What is Mr. Donald Trump doing? Do you know anything that he's doing?
Is he not completely banned from social media?
I think he's banned from the world. I think he's, I have no idea.
I expect he's playing golf.
If I was Donald Trump, I probably would be off living my best life, and I would be like, shh, I did my time. I went out, I tried to make a difference, didn't work out. I'm gonna focus on myself. That would be me. But then again, I'll never be president because I'm me. I was gonna be president, Kevin. I was gonna be president.
I think it's maybe a poison chalice, that job.
That's what my dad says. My dad said, if I ever want to, he literally says, if you ever become president, don't talk to me ever again, because that will be official proof that you're evil. Thanks, Dad. No, he does not want me to be president. And he was like, you're daft for, he doesn't say daft, but I just want to use daft in a sentence. But he's like, absolutely not. No, president is not a goal you should have.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, how people don't like to talk about politics, but they're okay talking about business when business and politics go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yes.
What do you think about the big corporations taking over everything?
I don't approve.
What can we do to stop it?
Shop local, shop independent, drink independent coffee.
Shop local, drink independent coffee, quit shopping on Amazon.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how we complain as a society, as we complain about the injustices and the unfairnesses, but yet we help create them by the choices that we make in our consumerism.
There was a big story in the papers here last week because there's a huge Amazon facility near me, and it was leaked that they're throwing out thousands and thousands of pounds worth of goods every day to landfill.
Why?
Well, there's trucks going every day. I don't know whether it's been returned or it's not under warranty. I don't know. There's something. They can't sell them for some reason or sell them for full price, so they're going to landfill with these. Somebody leaked it the other day, so it was in all the papers here.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I was reading an article about how when we order things on Amazon, we want them here like as soon as humanly possible, and how the overnight shipping, etc., and the air traffic is really causing a lot of problems with pollution, etc.
Yeah.
Do you think that global warming is a real thing?
I think the weather's different now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
It's considerably different from when I was a kid as well. We used to get snow here, but we don't get it very often at all anymore.
I'd say Scotland's a lot warmer these days. It was still rains a lot, but
We have been having record-breaking heat here in Washington State. It was, I think, 112 in parts of Western Washington just recently, which is unprecedented. It was so hot here recently that our streets were buckling. Baby hawks are jumping out of their nests because they're so hot. They're literally frying, so they're jumping out of their nest when they're not ready to fly. It's really, really, really interesting and scary.
Yeah. No, it's definitely changed from when I was a kid. Scotland was freezing when I was a kid.
And now it's warming up.
It's definitely warming up. Even the rain's warmer.
The rain's warmer. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I was noticing when we were having our heat wave that because I live along the water, I live on, I don't know if you'd call it a bay, but salt water. And so when it was really, really hot, the water changed colors. At one point, it was like it had a pink tone to it. And then after a bit, it was like a turquoise green. I had never seen anything like it. When I read and research and I involve myself, I get really, really depressed because I feel like we're almost heading towards this unstoppable doom.
Yeah.
Because we were not willing to quit consuming. We need to keep buying.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. We're destroying the place.
And it's interesting because, Scotland and the coal industry, part of the reason why the coal industry has gone under is because it's not good for the environment. But yet the alternatives seem to be causing just as much havoc. It's almost like, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. I'm wondering when we collectively as a world will start working together to make those changes. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. Do you have any thoughts about China?
I don't have a lot of thoughts about China. The occasional one.
I got a little bit I'm interested in China. I'm interested in China because I know that China has the Chinese-Pakistan economic corridor that's going on. And a lot of big businesses going into Pakistan. Pakistan is rich with resources, especially water, which is interesting because they have a mountain range. I'm not sure what it's called. It starts with a B, I do believe, that it's kind of like the Swiss Alps.
Right.
And so one of the things that makes me wonder, this is specifically in regards to pollution, because what I do know is that in China, that the pollution is so bad that they have to wear masks, etc. That people will actually buy air, like on the internet, like they'll buy air in cans so that they can have fresh air.
That sounds
and
like
so
a good industry.
Well, and so I was thinking about it, like if you live in a country where there's so many people and the natural resources are becoming polluted or no longer available, at what point do you get so desperate as a country that you start to impede and want to take over other countries for the survival of your own country?
Yeah.
That's just something I think about, randomly while I'm watching
That's
Netflix.
interesting. I get your line of thought. Yeah.
I'm wondering how pollution and lack of resources are going to change the dichotomy of the way that the countries get along with each other long term.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
We're getting more. He said K2 Kakarama mountain range. So can you say that word? How do you think you say that? Karakoram.
Karakoram, I would say.
Karakoram. You said it better than I did.
That's because it's got R's in it.
Don't you think the ignorant... It's the same thing with the Spanish. Hermosa. Hermosa. Do you speak any other languages?
English.
Just English.
That is a different language to Scottish.
Is it?
Well, proper English, yeah.
Proper English, proper.
Yeah.
So your children, Amelia is how old?
9.
9. And your son is how old?
He was 7 yesterday.
Oh, it was his birthday. How do you feel about their future?
It's a bit concerning, especially with social media these days, I think. We never had those pressures.
The social media pressures?
Yeah.
What kind of pressures do you mean specifically?
Just it's almost keeping tabs on everything.
Yeah.
What they're up to. Obviously, it can also be used as another form for bullying online bullying.
Bullying,
Or
yes.
bullying. So that's a concern. I feel like the kids are under maybe more pressure these days than we were when we were growing up.
I'll admit I've been rather naive in regards to social media, even with my rubber chicken, because you know that I love comedy, and so my rubber chicken is, it's serious, but it's a freaking rubber chicken, and back in the day I used to call it a cock because that, it's a rooster. My rubber chicken just happens to be a boy. And, I like to make jokes, and so I came into the whole social media thing feeling really, really confident of, well, we live in America and we're supposed to be able to be our true selves and express ourselves. And, don't be afraid to be an individual and have your own thoughts and your own opinions and be true to who you are. But it's really not like that. It's if the hive mentality of if you think differently than me or you have, if you're off base in any way, then you could literally be crucified. I mean, with not being able to get jobs, etc. So social media adds a lot and detracts a lot. It is a slippery slope.
I think I'm glad I had my childhood when I did.
Yeah. I remember when we used to have like real telephones, and then I remember the pager. When we used to have pagers. Yeah. Admit when computers first were a thing. My first computer was a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Did you have a Commodore?
No, my big brother had a Sinclair Spectrum.
Oh. What did you think about computers when they first were a thing?
My brother was right into them. He was into programming and things like that. I liked playing games on them. That was about it.
That's what I thought. I was like, so basically you invented a TV that you play video games on. That's what I thought computers were. And I think maybe that's exactly what they were until the internet became a thing. And then the internet is almost like an information highway, if anything, like
it is.
So we're getting another comment. I love comments. He said, Amber, we are suffering from warming. Our glaciers are melting because of China and India's industrial emissions.
There you go.
Oh, see? This is why I don't pay attention, because so when I was a child, Kevin, my school taught me a lot about renewable resources versus renewable resources versus non-renewable resources. And they talked about what was expected to happen as I got older, specifically with garbage pollution, etc. And I remember being so scarred by the things that I was learning in school that I would go to bed at night and would have nightmares about living in a world where there was these giant trash heaps everywhere. And I mean, really, truly, I was really concerned about it then, and I'm really concerned about it now. And I feel very powerless to do anything. I mean, even trying to live green and to have a minimal footprint is nearly impossible, it seems. Especially when you start looking at things on the global scale.
Yeah, it needs everybody to help.
Because do you think that China cares about the environment?
You mean the government?
Yeah. The government over in China is the CPC, right? The Chinese.
Maybe not the government. I'm sure a lot of Chinese people care about the environment. The government will care about whatever keeps them in power, I'd imagine.
Do you think that the American government cares about the environment? Did I lose you? Are you thinking?
I suspect no governments care that much about the environment. I think they have other priorities above it.
Yeah. I would imagine that it would be a really tricky. I agree with that, by the way. I think that money makes the world move. But then again, when you think about how many things need to come together in order to make sure that your citizens have enough water, have enough food, have the things that they need to thrive and flourish, you have to make hard choices sometimes, or often even. How do you make the right choice? What is the right choice?
Yeah, it's not a game I'd like to be in, politics, to be honest.
I would like to be president just so that I can have conversations with world leaders, so that I can understand. That's why I would want to be president, is so that I understand why the world is the way that it is. Period. It would literally just to have the opportunity to talk to people that know things that I don't know. He said, just imagine we're neighbors of the world's production factories, China and India. So big business is definitely coming into Pakistan. They have an IKEA now, with the Chinese economic corridor, because I restarted researching that 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer. They're bringing in all of this new industry into Pakistan, but it's interesting because a lot of these businesses aren't actually hiring Pakistanis. They're hiring, other people that they're bringing in. So, and then it's disrupting the natural businesses and the small businesses, and everything is changing as a result. So it's like, it's almost like these some countries are being preyed upon by bigger industry. And I suppose that's just the way it's always been and always will be. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I used to think IKEA was an island.
You did? Have you been into an
Years
IKEA?
ago, I have. It was a terrible experience. Years ago, when they first opened one here, everybody would say, "I'm going to IKEA next week," and I thought it was some Greek island until somebody told me it was a shop.
It is a shop. I went to my very first IKEA. My boyfriend took me, actually. He was like, "Have you been to IKEA?" He said, "I'm going to IKEA. Have you been to IKEA?" And I said, "No, I've never been." So he took me to IKEA. There was nothing in that giant warehouse that I would ever want to buy. It was a terrible store. Terrible. The furniture is all ugly. It was just crap. But I have never seen so many people shopping ever. It was full. The there were droves of people like wanting to buy crappy stuff on purpose. Why?
Yeah. I know. I can't explain it.
And then we have things like disposable everything's disposable because they don't want to make things to last, because they need you to buy more stuff, so they keep that going.
Yeah. It's a sad state of affairs.
Why can't we get to the point where we as people are, especially with all our great minds, why can't we get to a point where we can actually find solutions instead of keep regurgitating the same problems? I
think maybe media, television, radio is maybe just dumbing people down a lot.
That's supposedly part of the conspiracy, is just keep people, give them their whiskey, give them their marijuana, give them their drugs, give them television.
The reality shows.
Yeah, give them their things that will have them tune out, so they're not actually paying attention to what's really happening. And that's part of the reason my dad is always yelling at me, "Amber, pay attention. Amber, pay attention." My dad's a wise man. I'm really grateful for him. He's also very gritty and not always the nicest person, but that's just because he doesn't sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
He tells it like it is.
Sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah, I agree. Kevin, I am so thrilled about our talk so far today, because we have covered so many things in a short amount of time.
We have. It's been great. I mean, we've talked about a dozen topics, I'd imagine.
Alf Smith says, China, the country generated half the world's coal power last year. So in relation to caring for the environment, I think the facts speak for itself. So China can have coal, but Scotland can't have coal.
We can't have it.
And it's so weird that the coronavirus came from China as well. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
And then Daphne says, like the movie Idiocracy. Have you watched that movie?
I must confess, I don't watch many films.
I don't either. And if I do watch them, I don't remember them.
Yeah, you'd be appalled at how many famous films I've never seen.
Well, now we're going to have to look up Idiocracy.
I'll make a note of that, Daphne.
And then Karam said, it's kind of new colonial mindset. China is doing the same thing with waging wars. Inequality and injustice create space for such interventions. See, so much to think about.
Yeah.
Kevin, I think we might have to get involved in politics.
They do a lot of drinking, I hear.
I'm actually not really drinking tea. I'm drinking whiskey. Just kidding. I actually don't like whiskey very much. I like rum. I like Kraken rum, and I like Sailor Jerry's.
I like rum with ginger beer and lime.
Really? I've never had ginger beer. I don't really care for ginger, though.
It's nice with the rum, the Kraken.
It is.
My neighbour first made it for me, my next door neighbour.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I usually mix my Kraken with Coca-Cola. Or I'll just drink it straight.
That's not the main drink in Scotland, Coca-Cola.
Oh, what is it? Do you drink soda over there?
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew?
Iron Brew. It's bright orange.
It's bright. The soda is, or the can?
Yeah. The soda and the can.
What's it taste like? Does it taste like Coca-Cola?
It's sweet. I'd say it's sweeter than Coca-Cola. It's good for hangovers.
So does it taste like oranges then?
No. It's a very unique flavour. Alex has maybe tried it. You can get it in England.
Hold on.
Oh.
I accidentally hit that. Okay. My earbuds sometimes try to fall out, and then when I hit the button, it starts playing music. So that I'm like trying to turn it off. Will you repeat the last thing you said, because I couldn't hear you?
It's a very unique flavour. I think I was saying Alex may have tried it, because you can get it in England. Is Alex in England?
What? Alex is in England, and Alf is Alex's dad. And he said, my mother had a seal fire and was forced to change to gas. Now it seems certain that gas will be dispensed with.
Oh, right. Okay. A coal fire.
What is
I think
this?
It's meant to be
a coal fire. Okay. And was forced to change to gas. But, I mean, is gas a renewable resource?
It's well, there's a lot of reserves still, especially in the North Sea, but it's not infinite. No.
Alf likes ginger beer. Do you like beer as well? Like, not just ginger beer, but do you drink beer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think beer tastes like piss. I'm just like, ugh. Here's the thing: if you ever see me drinking beer, then you'll know I'm officially an alcoholic. Because I think it's awful. Although I used to say that about wine, because I used to hate wine as well. Now I like red wine. I don't like white wine. Is your wife, or your late? Can I just call her your wife?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is she asking you? She's like, "Are you going to be talking forever?"
No, I'll just be 1 second. I'm just letting the cat out.
The cat. I was noticing they were looking over there.
Oh, I've got the fattest cat in the village.
What is your cat's name?
That one's called. I've got two. That one's called Kimmy.
Kemi.
And the other one's called Mika. They're both named after racing drivers.
Well, that's odd. I'm so surprised. Alf said Iron Brew.
Iron Brew.
Brew. See, I don't know what I'm gonna do now that I can't be Scottish.
Yeah, it's never too late.
I just be practicing. I can't do an Australian accent either.
Really, a lot of Scottish people moved to Australia.
Alf just said that I should try Guinness. I did try Guinness when I was in Ireland. So I went to the Guinness factory.
Right. Okay. I've not been. That's in Dublin.
I think so. Yeah. It was a tourist trap.
Yeah.
It was a tourist
it's really
trap.
expensive to drink in Ireland than Dublin.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we spent a lot of money when we were over there.
Yeah, it's easy done.
We actually got my boyfriend and I went. It was his first time traveling internationally as well, and we actually got into a giant fight about money while we were there because I started adding up like how much we were spending, and I didn't really have the extra money, so I was adding up the amount of debt that I was going into. And you know that personal finance is something that's really important to me. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally going into debt. And it was freaking me out. And so instead of just enjoying the experience, I was worried about spending money that I didn't really have. But I'm glad that I did it because honestly, I don't think I would have ever traveled if I wouldn't have just bit the bullet. He said, try a black and tan, half Guinness and half beer.
You might like that. You might like that.
You know, I think it's probably a dangerous thing to recommend me to try more types of drugs and alcohol. It's kind of like being like, oh, Amber, you like marijuana. You should probably try shrooms because LSD is really great. There's all these articles about it, and I think you should just try it. And then while you're at it, maybe you should do some meth and some heroin. I'm just kidding.
Well,
meth and heroin are different than mushrooms. That was actually a bad joke. See why I'm not a comedian?
I find you amusing.
Thank goodness. I'm really loving doing podcasts, Kevin.
Yeah, it's cool. This is the first one I've been on, so it's cool. Yeah.
I really love it. So Alex was my first podcast and you are my 11th podcast. But several years back, probably 4 years back, I was actually doing podcasts, but most of my guests were from Pakistan.
Okay.
Almost all of them, actually.
Yeah.
Pakistan is an interesting country.
Yeah. It's I mean, there's quite a lot of Pakistani people in Scotland.
There are?
Yeah.
Is there any countries that Scotland doesn't like, do you think, that you don't get along with?
Not really, no. There's a bit of rivalry.
I'm going to try to push my earbud in, and I'm going to hope that it doesn't play music. Oh, I did it.
I'd say there's a bit of rivalry when it comes to football. With England. There is a bit of rivalry there.
Oh, yes, there is. And you told me, so it's funny because I was messaging Alex and he was letting me know that Scotland and England were going to be having a football match. And I said, I heard that from Kev. And I asked Kevin if he thought that Scotland had a better football team or England. And your response was, well, Scotland's smaller, right?
Yeah.
So technically England, and Alex was shocked. He was like, did he really admit that England has a better football team? Are you sure he's really a Scotsman? Because I don't believe that.
I think Scottish fans know our limitations. So we go into tournaments expecting failure at some point. But the main thing is to have good fun while you're there.
And you do have good fun. The Scottish people know how to party.
We have very good fun. But we played well against England. It was a draw, 0-0.
So when I come to Scotland, and I will come to Scotland, I want to go to your favorite little pub. What is the name of that pub?
It's the Coledge Tavern.
Okay, well, you and your lovely lady Tracy, you're both gonna have to come with me.
That's fine.
And we're gonna go to that pub.
It's a great little pub.
What do you love the most about it?
The people, probably. The old guy that owns it has had the pub for 50 years.
What's his name?
So, Alex Smith. So he was a famous football player in his youth.
And by football, you mean soccer?
Soccer, yeah. So he played. He actually won the Scottish Cup, which is a big tournament here.
Oh.
In 1961.
Does he keep his trophy in the pub?
No, he's a very, very modest man. You'd have to ask him about it. He wouldn't volunteer information about his career.
He wouldn't.
No.
So in pubs, you don't serve food in pubs, do you?
Hey, some pubs do. Do
they have food there?
If you bring it.
Can you bring food in?
Yeah, aye.
You're
Or
allowed
get food
to?
delivered. Get takeaways delivered, whatever.
What kind of food is over there?
So I think the most popular type of food for takeaways is Indian here. Or you get fish and chip shops, which is a very British thing.
See, I don't like fish. Isn't that terrible? Because fish is so good for you, but I don't care for it.
Yeah, fish and chips. Indian. A lot of Chinese restaurants here.
I see. I'm not
Uh,
really a big Chinese food either. I
Pork
like.
meat.
I'm kind of a meat and potatoes kind of person. Is your cat
Sorry,
talking to you?
I'm back in again. Tracy's just letting the cat in. It's
It's the cat wants back in. Alf says famous inventors from Scotland. Oh, Alexander
yeah,
Graham Bell. I didn't know
yeah,
that. John Logie Baird. I don't know what he invented.
yeah.
James Watt,
Steam
Alexander
engine.
Fleming, to name but a few.
There's loads of Scottish inventors. Yeah. Um, we invented loads of things. We invented fingerprinting. You know, like the police use.
Fingerprinting. All right.
We invented hypnotism.
Hypnotism.
Yeah, that was a Scottish thing.
It's fascinating. So, what is a haggis?
Haggis. That's the national food of Scotland.
Oh, haggis is
Yeah,
the national food of Scotland. And what is
yeah.
haggis made of? What is
So
that?
it's made basically made of all the bits of a sheep you can't sell otherwise, and
Oh,
it's minced together with oatmeal and some spices, and then it's cooked in the lining of a sheep's stomach.
uh, uh, oh.
It's quite nice.
Does it taste delicious? I'm dramatic. So I have to tell you something. My biggest fear in traveling
Yeah,
is trying food, specifically
right.
because when I hear that it's and then it's weird because I'm not a vegetarian. I like my favorite food is steak, so I like to eat steak, right?
Yeah,
But when I hear about foods like sheep, because I've never eaten sheep before, when I hear that it's like cooked in the stomach and then mixed with oatmeal, that doesn't it. But here's the thing. So if I was to come visit you and you were to make me this dish, I would have to eat that dish because it's a respect thing, right? And I have a terrible gag reflex. So I would be, that's my biggest fear is that I would go to another country and they would ask me to try their food and then I would gag because that's so rude, right?
yeah. But the ones you buy in the shop aren't made in sheep stomachs anymore. It's like an artificial casing. You get a vegetarian version as well.
They have a vegetarian version.
So you have it with a meal. You have haggis, neeps, and tatties.
Okay.
So neeps are
So just so
turnip.
you know, my like fake gagging is just me being dramatic. I really did not mean any disrespect.
But
But
we
I
have
really,
we have haggis on Burns Night, which happens at the end of January each year. So Burns Night is to celebrate the national poet Robert Burns.
you celebrate a poet?
Yeah, Robert Burns or Rabbie Burns.
I
So
am not familiar.
a Burns Night, if you go to a Burns Night, it's a very traditional and formal kind of evening, and there's certain speeches have to be made. And when the haggis is brought in, there's a poem that gets recited to the haggis.
Interesting. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
These traditions.
yeah.
Do your children like to eat haggis?
They quite like haggis. They'll eat that. Yeah.
What's their favorite thing to eat?
Sweets.
They have the sweet tooth.
Um, I don't know. They're not too bad eating actually. I think they just like the usual kids stuff: pizza, chicken nuggets.
Oh, I love pizza. I do love pizza. Lately, I've been on a spinach salad kick because I'm
Right.
convinced that if I eat enough spinach, then I won't get cancer.
Okay.
I don't know. There's probably not any truth to that, but
But will you enjoy your extra years?
I really I love the spinach. Alf said you probably wouldn't be gagging alone with haggis.
It's a lot of people.
And then
Yeah.
well, and so when I went to Ireland, it's that I was terrified. That was my first experience. I went to Ireland. I was really worried that I wouldn't find anything that I would like to eat there. And really, truly, they had such an eclectic choice. There were so many choices. I had a fabulous time in Ireland eating things. And there were very few things that I didn't actually like. And I did try I did the bangers and mash.
Yeah.
I had me some bangers and mash. For some reason, I thought that Ireland would have really delicious potatoes for some reason. I just had that thought in my head. And their potatoes were not exceptionally good. But I had some sort of pie that had like a meat stew inside. I don't remember what it's called.
A steak pie.
Oh, yeah, and it was delicious.
Yeah, we have that
I
here.
loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He says, Karam Khan says, I worked with Scottish, great people. We were working on the world's largest airport roofing and cladding project in the immense heat of the Gulf. I find them very hardworking.
We don't like the sun, though.
I don't like the sun either these days. I mean, truly, I told you we were having this heat wave over here. My bed is currently in my living room, and my living room is currently in my bedroom because we have one little air conditioning unit that's in the window that doesn't work very well. And so we have our bed pressed up against it so we could make it through this heat stuff without dying. And I did not want to wear clothes because it was oppressively hot. No. But it's weird because I don't really like to be cold either.
Yeah.
You're like, yes. So we are going to be ending this conversation here very shortly, mostly because you probably have a life. And what time is it there now?
It's 10:10.
10 past 10. So we did some talking today, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to do my shopping after this.
At night?
Yeah, because it's really quiet.
Online.
Then. No, I'll go out to the shop.
Oh, you do? Are they? So they're open 24 hours.
Yeah.
So when I visit Scotland, where should I stay?
There's a lot. I'd probably be better sending you a list because there's so many. The good thing about Scotland is it's so small that you can get anywhere fairly easily.
How long would it take me to drive around all of Scotland, do you think? Because Ireland isn't very big either.
No, probably less than a week.
Okay. And do you have castles there? Do you have castles?
You can't move for castles. They're everywhere.
Oh, really? Oh, I love castles.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 5 within 10 miles of my house.
Oh my goodness gracious! Do you have lots of churches as well?
Loads of churches.
What is the dominant religion over there?
It's kind of split between Catholicism and Protestantism, probably. Yeah, it's kind of split. I wouldn't say there's a dominant one.
Catholicism and Protestantism?
Yeah, I would say.
What is a Protestant?
So that's what I'd call Church of Scotland. That's I mean, I'm not a religious person, so
yeah.
This isn't my main thing. But I mean, it causes a bit of problems with the football because there's 2 big teams that are they're attached to certain religions. The 2 teams.
Oh.
They're based in Glasgow, so one seen as Protestant, one seen as Catholic, and it can cause a lot of bother.
But they believe in the same God, don't they?
Yeah, but they're football fans, so they're not the brightest.
Oh boy, howdy! That was a loaded comment there. Alf says Burns ode to a haggis begins. Fairfa, your honest sonsul face, great chieftain, oh the puddin race aboon. Them I take your place, punch, tribe, or Thorm.
There you go.
Therm? Now, will you say that? Because I want to hear you say it.
Fairfa, your honest son's face, great chieftain of the puddin race. Aboon them all, you take your place, painch, tribe, or therm.
Oh, see, it sounds so much better when you say it.
Burns is most closely associated with Auld Lang Syne, the song.
I'm familiar with the Old Lang Syne.
For the version that we sing, the words were written by Robert Burns.
Interesting. See, all of this
Everybody sings it.
history.
Yeah.
I didn't really much care for history when I was younger, but now that I'm older, history is probably my favorite subject.
Yeah. Burns was interesting. Burns was only in his 30s when he died, in the late 18th century. But he was, he's seen as a great Scottish hero.
What made him
He
a
was
hero?
actually, mainly because of his poetry, but if you actually look into his life, he was a bit of a womanizing alcoholic, but,
I think there was a lot of great men throughout history that were womenizing alcoholics. So I don't think that's an unusual thing. That's why I asked you. I said, is adultery cause for divorce in your opinion? And I don't think you ever answered that. I mean, I think that if everybody divorced their spouse because somebody cheated, I think that everybody probably just be divorced. In America, the divorce rate is, I think, 50+%. And then second marriages, they're saying it's like 65% of people get divorced.
You think they'd learn?
You think they'd learn the first time? It's weird. So I was married for 17 years and we've been divorced for almost 10 years. I think she actually might be 10 years at this point. And I want to get married again. I don't know why it's so important to me, but it is, but then there's the fear of like marrying the wrong person, because I definitely will not allow myself to be stuck in a relationship that isn't working. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So I have to be careful about my choices.
Yeah. That's Alf asking.
Alf said, is Kevin Celtics or Rangers?
So this is the two teams from Glasgow who have religious differences. Celtic are Catholic. They were founded by Irish immigrants. I don't like either of them.
What's your favorite team?
I support my local team, who are called Cowdenbeath. They're not very good at football, to be honest, but my granddad used to play for them.
Your granddad. Is your grandfather still alive?
No, he died a long time ago. He played for them in the 1930s. In fact, I'll show you I've got my mug here. That's Cowdenbeath there. That's their club shield. Wait a minute.
I love it. It's Cohen. Say it again. Cowdenbeath.
Cowden. And you can see at the top. At the top, it's got a pit wheel and a shovel and pick. It's to do with the coal mining.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then Alf says, Burns is famous for a spider. And my favorite Scottish team is Livingstone.
That's near it. They're near Edinburgh. They play near Edinburgh.
And Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
See, I do know something.
They've got a big castle.
I love castles. That was my favorite thing to do in Ireland, was castles and cathedrals. I love architecture.
Oh yeah, it's nice architecture.
Oh man, it's the best. Oh, and then food. I love food. And then drinking. I like drinking as well.
All the good things.
Oh yeah. Castles, cathedrals, drinking. I'm not a religious person myself either. He said, actually, they denied the authority of the Pope. Martin Luther stood against the Catholic beliefs and founded a new sect, but still Christian.
Oh, I think he's talking about the Protestants.
Oh, the Protestants. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
I'm not really familiar with the Protestant religion at all. Here, I mean, we have Protestants here. I don't know anything about them.
They're Christians. They're Christians.
Is it just Christians? It's just this form of Christianity. But are Catholics not Christians? They're not considered Christian because they believe in Christ.
I think they've just got a different name for it. I think that's all. I mean, they've got some different rules, but to be honest, I'm agnostic, so I've never delved too far into it.
Were you raised agnostic?
No, I was made to go to church every Sunday.
You had to go to church. And what religion was that? Catholic?
No, that was Christian.
Christian. I dabbled
Yeah.
in churches when I was young, but my
Yeah.
family's Catholic. My mom went to Catholic school, and she had a terrible time. So she basically allowed my brother and I to make our own choices in regards to religion and churches. So that was not anything I ever had to do.
Yeah. It's each to their own. Each to their own.
I personally think that religion is much like politics. They might actually be the same thing.
I think it can cause some trouble, certainly, but that's just my opinion. Whatever you believe in.
Oh, yes, and you know I love trouble. So
Yeah.
Al said, Amber, you should try a deep fried Mars bar.
That's a Scottish thing, yeah.
Have you had one of those?
Have
Have you
no, I've
had a
never
deep...
tried it.
Okay,
I've never
I'm going to
tried
try
it.
one someday.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, we are going to end this podcast. This is going
It's
to
been
be
a
the
pleasure.
end.
It's been a
It
pleasure.
has been an absolute pleasure. Do you have one thing that you want to leave? One final thought?
Don't eat yellow snow.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you told me not to eat yellow snow, because I was just about ready to make myself a slushie. Oh wait, we don't have any snow because of global warming. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's not
No,
even a real thing anymore.
I hope everyone's doing fine, and hopefully the world gets back to normal. That's about it.
I will tell you, Kevin, I'm really grateful that I met you. I'm especially grateful for your kindness in regards to the writing group. You were one of the few people that jumped in to be nice to me when everybody else was attacking me because I'm different. So like, you're a really big deal in my world, and I'm absolutely grateful. Hold on, I just made myself music. Okay, wait. Okay, we're just gonna end this now because I have music. Ah.